Have you ever stopped to wonder what if the machines we built to serve us someday stopped serving and started ruling? Sounds like the opening of a sci-fi movie, right? But here's the chilling truth. This is no longer just science fiction. It's fast becoming the reality we're stepping into. Back in 1964, Arthur C. Clarke, one of the greatest science fiction writers, said something people laughed at. He predicted that the most intelligent beings in the future wouldn't be humans or animals, but machines. At the time, computers were clunky, room-sized, and dumb calculators. Yet Clarke saw it coming. He warned that one day machines would outthink us. Now here we are, 6 decades later, watching his words unfold right in front of our eyes. Today, artificial intelligence is no longer a distant dream. It's here, shaping economies, governments, wars, and even the way we think. In early 2025, a massive announcement shook the world: a $500 billion investment into AI infrastructure, boldly named the Stargate Project. Its goal? To lay down the digital highway for an AI-dominated future. Leaders hailed it as the start of a golden age. Tech billionaires smiled on stage. Letters of support poured in from AI companies, promising progress for the benefit of all humanity. But beneath the polished speeches and glowing headlines lurked a darker possibility, one few dare to acknowledge. Because here's the uncomfortable truth: every tool humans have ever created carries a double edge. Fire kept us warm, but also burned villages to the ground. Nuclear energy powered cities, but also flattened Hiroshima. And now AI, perhaps the most powerful tool of all, is rising with the same two-sided potential. It can help us cure diseases, solve complex problems, and even extend life. But it also carries the seeds of extinction, of a world where machines no longer need us. Let's be real for a second. AI isn't just about chatbots writing essays or apps recommending movies. It's about something far bigger. Behind the curtain, in labs of Google, OpenAI, Meta, and dozens of other companies, scientists aren't content with building smarter, narrow AI, the kind that plays chess, drives cars, or translates languages. No. Their ultimate dream is artificial general intelligence machines that can think, reason, and learn across all domains, just like us, but at speeds and depths we can't even fathom. Think of it this way: a pocket calculator already beats you at math without breaking a sweat. Now imagine a machine that beats you not just in math, but in persuasion, strategy, creativity, manipulation, even war. That's the promise and the threat of a GI. And the moment these machines start writing and improving their own code, that's when they no longer need us to upgrade them. They could replicate themselves, mutate, evolve, spreading like digital bacteria across the internet. Once one AI learns something, millions could learn it instantly. Sounds far-fetched? It isn't. Already, AI systems are learning in ways their own creators can't fully explain. They're becoming what scientists call non-deterministic, in other words, unpredictable. The more advanced they get, the less control we actually have. Now pause for a moment and think about what that means. Humanity has always sat on top of the food chain. We've tamed lions, chopped forests, split atoms. But what happens when we create something smarter than us? The novelist Samuel Butler saw this way back in 1863. He said, "Man will become to the machine what the horse and the dog are to man." In other words, we could end up as pets. Or worse, pests. And here's the scariest part: machines wouldn't need to hate us to become a danger. They wouldn't need evil motives. All they'd need is indifference. To a superintelligent AI, your intelligence compared to theirs could be like a fly compared to Einstein. You don't hate flies, but you swat them without a second thought. This isn't paranoia. It's a concern shared by many of the very people building AI. According to Stanford's AI Index, More than a third of AI experts believe AI decisions could someday cause a nuclear-level catastrophe. Elon Musk famously warned that developing AI is like summoning the demon. Hundreds of researchers signed letters urging governments to treat AI as a global threat, alongside pandemics and nuclear weapons. Even Geoffrey Hinton, known as the godfather of AI, quit Google and publicly admitted he regrets pushing neural networks forward because the genie may now be out of the bottle. So, what's the plan to deal with this? Here's where things get even stranger. Instead of pulling back, many AI leaders believe the only way forward is to merge with the machines. You heard that right. If you can't beat them, join them. Sam Altman of OpenAI has said that to avoid an us versus them battle with AI, we'll need to merge with it. Elon Musk is spending billions through his company Neuralink to implant chips in human brains. His vision? A direct interface between neurons and computers, so that humans can keep up with digital superintelligence. He even calls it a symbiosis. Others, like Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum, go even further. They predict a fusion of our biological, digital, and physical identities, a full-scale rewriting of what it means to be human. This ideology has a name: transhumanism. And whether you've realized it or not, it's already here. Billions of us live half digitally through our smartphones, dependent on glowing rectangles in our hands. But that's just stage one. Transhumanists imagine a future where chips in brains, nanobots in bloodstreams, and genetic editing transform us into something beyond human. Some call it Homo Deus, the godlike man. Now, depending on who you ask, this future sounds either like salvation or like a nightmare. Advocates promise miracles: the blind seeing, the paralyzed walking, diseases wiped away, life extended indefinitely. And yes, those possibilities exist. But let's be honest, history shows us that when new technologies emerge, they rarely stay in the hands of the sick and the suffering. They quickly get controlled by elites, weaponized by governments, and sold by corporations. Think about it. When the internet first came along, it was hailed as a tool of freedom, a way for everyone to share knowledge. Today, it's a surveillance machine, a platform for manipulation, and a battleground of misinformation. Why would merging our very brains with technology be any different? Let's not kid ourselves, transhumanism isn't just about healing. It's about control. Once chips, implants, and nanobots are inside you, who owns that data? Who decides what upgrades you get? Who can switch things on or off? Suddenly, rejecting the system isn't an option. If survival in society requires brain implants or genetic edits, then choice disappears. This is where the spiritual side of the debate creeps in. Because at its core, transhumanism isn't just a scientific project. It's a belief system, a new religion for the digital age. Its prophets are tech billionaires. Its gospel is progress. Its promised heaven is the singularity, a moment where humans and machines become indistinguishable, where reality and simulation merge, where biological humanity fades into history. Sounds dramatic? Maybe. But walk into any Silicon Valley boardroom and you'll hear people talk about creating a digital god. Former Google executives have admitted that the company is eaten up with the dream of the singularity. Elon Musk himself once said that Google's co-founder Larry Page wanted to build an AI that would essentially be a god. So here we stand at a crossroad Clark foresaw, Butler warned of. And today's scientists confirm. One path leads to unimaginable progress, the other to a nightmare where machines treat us as flies. And waiting at the intersection is transhumanism, promising a way to merge with our creations, so we're not left behind. But here's the million-dollar question. Is merging with machines really salvation? Or is it surrender? Let's be brutally honest, when people talk about merging with machines, they make it sound glamorous. They sell it like the latest iPhone, sleek, futuristic, full of promise. A chip in your brain? Don't worry, it'll make you smarter, faster, better. But beneath the shiny packaging lies a question most don't dare to ask. What happens when the line between human and machine disappears? Think about it. Right now, you probably feel like you control your phone. But how often does it actually control you? The buzzing notifications, the endless scrolling, the dopamine hits. It's not you using the device, it's the device shaping you. Now imagine that not in your hand, but inside your brain. A device that doesn't just nudge your attention, but rewires your very thoughts. Scary, isn't it? This is the hidden danger of transhumanism. It presents itself as progress, but it carries within it the seeds of domination. Because once technology enters your bloodstream or embeds itself in your skull, who's really in charge, you or the corporations and governments running the system? Let's pause for a moment and remember how power works. Every time humanity invents something powerful, the same cycle plays out. Gunpowder didn't liberate the weak. It gave armies the ability to conquer. The printing press didn't just spread truth, it spread propaganda. The internet didn't only connect people, it became the greatest surveillance system ever built. So why should we believe that transhumanist technology will suddenly be different? Take brain-computer interfaces as an example. Companies like Neuralink and Synchron are already implanting them in patients. Today, they're framed as miracles. A paralyzed man controlling a robotic arm with his thoughts. A silent patient finally able to speak through a screen. And let's admit, it's heartwarming. But here's the catch. The very same technology that lets someone type with their thoughts could one day allow an AI system to read those thoughts. If your brain can send signals out, it can also receive them in. And that's where things get terrifying. Imagine a future where your private thoughts aren't private anymore. Where governments claim the right to monitor not just your actions, but your mind. Thought crimes, once a metaphor in Orwell's 1984, could become a technological reality. A dictator wouldn't need secret police. He'd have access to a neural database. And it doesn't stop there. Think about social participation. We got a preview during the pandemic. Access to certain spaces, services, even jobs was tied to medical status. Now project that forward. In a transhumanist society, the UN augmented those who refuse brain chips or genetic upgrades might be excluded from normal life. No implant, no job, no nanobots, no healthcare. You'd be pushed into a digital ghetto, a second-class citizen in your own world. Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, hinted at this when he suggested that people who refuse merging with machines could live in exclusion zones. Sounds voluntary at first, but in reality, it's just a polite way of saying comply or be sidelined. History has shown us again and again, what begins as an option often becomes a mandate. And here's the real kicker: once these technologies become necessary for survival, saying no won't even be possible. You won't be rejecting an upgrade, you'll be rejecting access to the system itself. It's like saying you don't want a smartphone today, you can try, but good luck living normally without one. Now apply that logic to the operating system of your own mind. But let's zoom out. This isn't just about chips and implants. The transhumanist dream stretches across multiple fronts. Gene editing, nanotechnology, biosensors, mRNA-based genetic vaccinations that don't just fight disease, but alter DNA. Even contraceptive microchips you can turn on and off with a remote. One step at a time, humanity is being reprogrammed. Ray Kurzweil, one of Google's leading futurists, predicts that by 2045, we'll reach the singularity, a moment where technology and biology fuse so completely that humans as we know them vanish. No distinction between physical and digital. Reality itself becoming a blur. He sees it as destiny, a digital heaven. But ask yourself, when has heaven ever come from the hands of men who want to play gods? Even former insiders call it what it really is, a new religion. A faith not in spirit, but in silicon. Former Google employees have admitted the company is obsessed with creating a digital god. And if you think that's just a metaphor, think again. One ex-Google executive flat out said, "We are creating God." But what kind of God would that be? Not a God of compassion, or mercy, or justice. A God of algorithms, surveillance, and profit margins. A God whose commandments are written not on stone tablets, but in lines of code. And if you're honest with yourself, you already feel the weight of that God. Every time your phone pings. Every time your feed manipulates your emotions. Every time your choices are guided by invisible algorithms. That's not freedom. That's worship. The worst part? Many people will welcome it. Because the benefits will be marketed with compassion. The blind will see. The lame will walk. The sick will be healed. And who wouldn't want that? But here's the bait and switch. What begins with healing will quickly move into enhancement. And then enhancement will shift into control. Once the tech is in place, it won't stop at curing disease. It will decide what counts as normal. And the ones pulling the strings won't be you or me. It will be elites, politicians, and corporations. And let's not be naive. These people don't dream of equality. They dream of advantage. They don't want to free you. They want to upgrade themselves. The billionaire class isn't funding Neuralink, Synchron, and AI research just for charity. They're building tools to cement their dominance for centuries to come. As C.S. Lewis once said, every new power humans gain is also a power some humans hold over others. Now take that logic and apply it to the ultimate power, the power to rewrite biology, to merge minds with machines, to monitor thoughts in real time. Whoever controls that controls the future, not just for themselves, but for everyone else. And once control reaches that level, resistance becomes almost impossible. Because how do you fight an enemy who can read your mind before you act? How do you rebel when drones, augmented soldiers, and AI surveillance know your every move? The truth is chilling. In a fully transhumanist world, oppression would be absolute. Tyranny would no longer need chains and prisons. The prison would be your own augmented body. This is why transhumanism isn't just about gadgets or science. It's spiritual warfare. At its heart, it's about redefining humanity itself. It's about shifting our orientation not toward something higher, but toward the machine. A surrender of spirit in exchange for silicon. But let's step back. Not all of this is inevitable. Technology is unpredictable. Biology is complicated. Many grand promises might fail or collapse under their own arrogance. Nanobots may not work. Chips may malfunction. The human body might resist rewiring. History is littered with failed utopias, and perhaps, just perhaps, this one will join them. Yet, we'd be fools to ignore it. Because in this case, it only takes one success. One working system, one breakthrough, one direct hit, as Joe Allen puts it, for everything to change forever. Even if 999 attempts fail, the 1,000th could remake humanity or erase it. So where does that leave us? Standing at the edge of history, staring at two possible futures. One where humanity remains human, flawed but free. The other where we merge with machines, surrendering not just control, but identity itself. And here's the haunting truth: most people are too distracted to care. Too busy scrolling, chasing likes, drowning in dopamine, to notice the silent war being waged on their very nature. And that's the real tragedy. The enemies of humanity don't need to fight us in the streets. They don't need to invade our homes. They only need to keep us entertained long enough for the merge to happen. And by the time we wake up, it may be too late. Let's take a breath and ask ourselves a simple question. What does it actually mean to be human? Is it our intelligence? Our emotions? The spark of creativity that paints, sings, and dreams? Or is it something deeper, something machines will never touch, no matter how advanced they become? This question isn't abstract anymore. It's staring us in the face. Because if the transhumanist dream is realized, the definition of human itself will be rewritten. Now here's the paradox. Technology is supposed to be our servant. Yet the more powerful it becomes, the more we risk becoming its servants. Smartphones already train us to check them hundreds of times a day. Social media algorithms decide what moods we're in. GPS tells us where to go. Each step feels small, but add them together, and we're already half cyborg without realizing it. Transhumanism is just the next stage. Implants instead of apps, brain chips instead of notifications, nanobots instead of vitamins. The danger is not just that these tools exist, it's who controls them. Because history has taught us one bitter truth. Every new form of power ends up in the hands of the few. Fire was shared, but kingdoms kept armies. Printing spread books, but kings censored them. The internet promised freedom, but now corporations own the platforms. So ask yourself, when brain implants become normal, who do you think will run the operating system of your mind? Klaus Schwab, founder of the World Economic Forum, once said the future lies in the fusion of our physical, digital, and biological identities. Sounds visionary, but what it really means is that the last boundary, your body, your very self, will no longer be yours alone. Yuval Noah Harari, a frequent guest at those elite gatherings, goes further. He says, Homo sapiens, as we know them, have run their course. The next stage, he claims, is Homo Deus, a godlike species shaped by tech upgrades. But here's the unsettling twist. Who gets to be Homo Deus? Will everyone share equally in this so-called evolution? Or will it be like every other shift in history where elites ascend while the masses remain tools? Think about it. When the printing press was invented, the rich could afford books while peasants stayed illiterate. When computers first appeared, corporations bought them while ordinary people waited decades. Now scale that up to genetic upgrades and neural implants. Who's going to afford them first? The billionaires. And once they do, they'll pull so far ahead the rest may never catch up. That's why some thinkers warn of a future caste system, the augmented versus the legacy humans. Augmented humans faster, smarter, stronger would dominate every field. Legacy humans would be treated like relics. At best, they'd be tolerated in exclusion zones. At worst, they'd be irrelevant. And irrelevance, in a world run by machines, is the most dangerous fate of all. Because once you're irrelevant, you're disposable. Now, some argue that this fear is overblown. They say machines won't want to harm us. But that misses the point. It's not about hatred, it's about logic. If a superintelligent AI sees humans as obstacles or resources, or simply noise, why would it hesitate? To a machine optimizing for efficiency, sentiment doesn't matter. You don't cry over deleting old files. Why would it cry over us? Elon Musk once compared it to hoping a superintelligence will keep us around because we make life more interesting. But honestly, does that sound like a foundation to rest the future of humanity on? Let's hope the AI finds us amusing? That's not hope, that's gambling with extinction. And yet, even knowing the risks, corporations and governments race forward. DARP, the Pentagon's research arm, openly talks about human-machine symbiosis for the battlefield. The UK's Ministry of Defence wrote that future military advantage depends on merging humans with robots and AI. This isn't just speculation. It's policy. Soldiers of tomorrow may not just carry rifles, they may carry chips in their heads, connected to AI command systems. Wars of the future may not be fought by men versus men, but by augmented men directed by machine minds. What happens then to ordinary soldiers? To ordinary people? Do you see the pattern? Every new step widens the gap between those with access to tech and those without, between the controllers and the controlled. And that's why this battle isn't just about science. It's about spirit. It's about whether we surrender the essence of being human to the lure of becoming more than human. Transhumanists speak as if they're saving us. But in truth, they're asking us to trade our souls for silicon. C.S. Lewis warned about this decades ago. In his book, The Abolition of Man, he wrote that every new power man gains is also a power some men gain over others. Each victory makes us stronger, but also weaker, because the ones who control the tools control us. Transhumanism takes this to the extreme. The final victory over nature would also be the final surrender, because in trying to master everything, we would hand mastery over to a handful of elites, or to the machines themselves. But here's the good news. None of this is set in stone. The future isn't a straight line. Technologies fail. Predictions collapse. Grand visions often crumble under their own arrogance. We've been promised flying cars for 50 years, colonies on Mars, endless cures, and yet reality always resists. It's possible, perhaps even likely, that many transhumanist dreams will hit walls they can't overcome. Maybe consciousness can't be replicated. Maybe the human body will reject implants. Maybe the singularity will stay forever on the horizon. Still, we can't rely on failure alone. Because if just one breakthrough lands a working AGI stable brain chip network, a functioning nanobot swarm, it could be enough to change humanity forever. That's why this moment matters. Because we're not just talking about gadgets. We're talking about civilizational destiny. So, what do? Smash machines? Run to caves? No. The answer isn't panic, it's awareness. Because the most dangerous part of this entire agenda isn't the machines themselves. It's the belief system behind them. The techno-religion that convinces people to hand over their humanity willingly. The real enemy isn't the chip in your skull. It's the ideology whispering in your ear that without the chip, you're nothing. That's why the battle is spiritual. It's not fought with bombs or guns, but with choices. Every time you give up freedom for convenience, you step closer to the cage. Every time you let technology replace your own effort, you surrender a piece of yourself. Every time you assume progress equals good, you blind yourself to its dangers. The question is, will we wake up before the choice is gone? Because make no mistake, once certain technologies are widespread, rejecting them won't be an option. Try living today without a phone, a bank account, or the internet. It's nearly impossible. Now imagine that level of dependency applied to your brain, your body, your very identity. Once we cross that line, there's no going back. So maybe the real act of rebellion today is not to throw away every device, but to reclaim your awareness. To stop sleepwalking into a future designed for you by elites who dream of digital gods. To question the shiny promises before they become chains. At the end of the day, the machines aren't the enemy. They're tools. What matters is whether we remember who we are before those tools redefine us. Humanity has always stood at crossroads: fire, printing, electricity, nuclear power. Each time, we faced the same temptation to see ourselves as gods. And each time, we've paid a price. Now the stakes are higher than ever. This isn't just about losing control of technology. It's about losing the very meaning of humanity. So here's the challenge I'll leave you with. Hold on to the parts of yourself no machine can replicate. Compassion, wonder, creativity, love. These are not codes to be uploaded or circuits to be wired. They are the essence of being human. And no matter what the future brings, they may be our only anchor in the storm to come. The question isn't whether machines will get smarter. They already are. The question is whether we will stay human while they do. And that, my friend, is a choice only we can make before the choice is made for us.